Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mr. Burke, and this is my Introduction to Latin series. Today, we're going to be learning the second declension. Remember, a declension is a pattern of noun endings, and we've already learned the first declension. I, arum, is, as, is. These are endings we attach to the end of a noun like this. Puella, puella, puellai, puellai, puellam, puella, etc. And we've seen dictionary entries for the first declension, like agricola, agricolae, masculine. Notice it's the nominative followed by the genitive. But today I want to introduce you to a new word, servus, servi, masculine. This means an enslaved person. Notice how the nominative ends in us and the genitive ends in e. That's because this belongs to the second declension, which is a whole new pattern of noun endings. The second declension looks like this. Us, e, o, e, orum, is, os, is. And if we attach them to servus, it looks like this. Servus, servi, servo, servum, servo, servi, servorum, servis, servos, servis. It can also help us memorize the second declension to look at similarities between the second declension and the first declension. Notice the first declension accusative singular, looks a lot like the second declension accusative singular, There's just a vowel shift. Similarly, both ablative singulars consist of a single long vowel. Looking now at the plurals, we see that the dative and ablative plurals are identical between the declensions. Further, the genitive plural undergoes a simple vowel shift from arum to orum, and the accusative plural undergoes the same vowel shift from as to os. Hopefully these patterns will help you memorize the second declension more quickly. Those noun endings are the most important part of this video. I need you to learn those and learn them well. Start chanting them the way you did first declension, because you're going to need to be able to recognize and identify the case of second declension words as well. Now remember how noun dictionary entries have the nominative and the genitive? Agricola, agricolae, servus, servi. That's because you won't always be able to tell a noun is second declension based just on its nominative. Some second declension nouns actually look like this, puer, pueri. Notice it ends in er in the nominative instead of us. This also introduces us to a new concept, the idea of finding a stem for a noun. The stem is what we attach the endings to, and usually it's self-evident, servus, servi. Well, we know we can remove the us or the e to find the stem. But look at puer, pueri. Well, puer is the stem itself. We find that by removing e, that long I, from the genitive singular. And then we make it puero, puerum, puero, etc. But let's look at a different second declension noun, ager, agri. Here again, we find the stem by removing e from the genitive, and we find the stem is agr. So we get ager, agri, agro, agrum, agro. Again, this point is not nearly as important as the pattern itself. I'm much more concerned that you start memorizing the pattern us, e, o, e, orum, is, os, is. Nevertheless, I wanted you to see how these noun dictionary entries work, and why the genitive is so important. Now, the last part of a noun dictionary entry is the gender, and believe it or not, I have saved maybe the best part of this video for last, because the gender of second declension nouns is really fascinating. See, second declension nouns can be masculine or neuter. I'll teach you how to identify neuters later, but for this lesson, the ones we're learning are masculine. Remember I mentioned the word puer, pueri? Notice how it looks very similar to puella, puellai? That's not a coincidence. Puer, pueri is the masculine version of puella, puellai. Puer, pueri means boy, because puella, puellai means girl. Similarly, we've learned the word philia. Philia, filii means daughter. And so filius, filii means son. Or take dea, which means goddess. Deus is God. Domina is a woman who owns slaves. Dominus is a man who owns slaves. Though, I admit we will tend to translate both these with the English word master. So by just remembering a few of your first declension words, you can learn a lot of new vocabulary in the second declension. Thanks for joining me. Today we learned the second declension endings. And we learned that second declension nouns tend to be masculine or neuter, though the ones we're focusing on in this particular lesson were masculine. We'll talk about the neuters in a little bit. Until next time, Wale!